Welcome to this episode of Locked In. In this episode, we're going to be reviewing the Leadout Racelite overnight bags. Their handlebar bag as well as their saddle bag. If you're looking for a lightweight, easy solution to carry stuff on your bike while you're riding for a credit card bike camping or possibly light duty bike camping, these might be the bags for you, so stay tuned. In this video, I'm going to be going over the specs and features of each individual bag, the mounting process, price, and my final thoughts. So let's get into the specs of the bags. We're going to be starting with the handlebar bag. Now, this is a cradle style bag, which means that the dry bag, which is included, is separate from the cradle itself, which does mean you have a lot of versatility because you could technically use your own dry bag, but this one has a lot of features you really probably are going to like. Now, as far as mounting goes, you're going to have your standard 3-point mounting system, which is going to be included with 2 foam blocks so that you can keep some space between your hands and the handlebar. And you're going to have your head tube elastic style band with, again, some more foam blocks to keep everything abrasion free and give you a little bit of space between your head tube and the bag. Now, a couple neat features that I haven't seen on other bags before are these cam style buckles. Now, these are going to be something where you just lift up and it easily goes in and out, which is really cool. And then it just self-closes on itself and is really secure. Now, that I haven't seen before. Typically, you have to push them down and lock them into place or something of the sort, or they use Velo straps. So I really do like this system because it's just convenient and automatically closes it itself. So even if you're not fully tightened, you at least hold the bag there a lot easier. And I really like that feature when you're initially setting it up. Other things to note is you do have a reflective hit on the non-drive side of the bag, as well as on the back here. I really like that even though this is a very stripped down lightweight cradle, you have 2 really great expandable mesh pockets, which you could put gels or anything like that. Now, if you have stem bags in your bag, those probably will block this, but this would be great to put debris or trash in as well. But I really like that thought out process, as well as I am a big fan of the bungee style cord on this around the head tube. Now, it isn't as stiff as a regular strap like these are, but it does go around the head tube a little bit easier. And I don't mind a little bit of movement for that convenience, especially for smaller riders where there's going to be a smaller pinch point where your top tube and your down tube meet. This is great because you don't have to worry about that strap trying to fold around that tight radius. You have a 2-buckle system to release that bag from the cradle, and using the dry bag that's supplied, you do get some added benefits, obviously, compared to just a standard generic dry bag, as far as you get these security loops, and you can see here that they do have little Velcro sewn into them, so you can keep the straps nice and tidy so they don't fly around when you're riding. We'll show off the cradle first. You can see here that everything's really well stitched into this cradle. It's extremely lightweight, and I've never used a cradle system like this before, but there's a big benefit that I didn't know I needed until I tried to put this on. I have used the Racelite Design Sweet Roll, and the problem is when that thing's fully loaded and you're trying to put it on the bike, especially if you're packing initially for the trip, and for me, my bike is downstairs and I pack everything up here, so I carry my bags fully loaded downstairs. The benefit of this is you can install the cradle on there, and then all you're having to do is just put the heavy object, which is going to be your dry bag, into the cradle and then strap it in. Obviously, you can loosely strap it to kind of hold it in place and then feed these buckles through as needed. I didn't realize how much more convenient that style of system was until I tried it. So there is a big benefit to this cradle. And this can obviously live on the bike just like the cradle for the saddlebag when you're at camp when using these bags. Super simple design, but definitely has its benefits. Now on to the dry bag. As you can see, you have your security loops, as I mentioned before, as well as you do have a great accessory pouch here that gives you access to the bag. Now this I would probably put my wallet in or something quick access, maybe a cell phone as they pictured in their product descriptions, but this gives you access to the front of the bag. Obviously, if it's fully loaded, it's not going to be much, but again, credit cards, wallet, something that you're going to need somewhat regularly, but I wouldn't have anything really complex in here because it might get lost because it does have a pass-through into the main compartment. Now, this is a fully waterproof bag as well, so if you do need that in your area, this is a great feature to have. In California, to be honest, this is something I don't really need. It's a little bit overkill, and you probably could shed some weight going to a standard dry bag, but you might lose this feature right here, which is the quick release valve for air. So as you're tightening this, you can open the valve so you can hear on my mic, you can get some extra air out when the valve is open, and then you can lock the valve and compress the bag a little bit more. I really like that feature. It's something that I think every bag should have. And then you're going to have your standard roll top compartment up here to allow you easy access. And as you can see, it is going to be a single-sided roll top bag. Typically for this style of bag, I'm just going to use the stuff it method, which means take everything out of its plastic bag or whatever sack it might come into and just stuff it into here. Typically what I would put in here that I have in here currently is going to be my sleeping pad, pillow, and my sleeping bag. Now it is stated at 7.2 liters, but that's kind of the example of the amount of stuff that you can put in here. I'll take this out just so you can see kind of what I'm talking about. This is definitely my summer lighter weight sleeping bag. It is a lot thinner and a little bit smaller. After that, you're going to see my sleeping pad here. Now, I could take this out and fold it a little bit better into the bag, but because my so minimal, I actually just kind of stuff the bag around this and over it. And as you saw in the beginning, I wanted to see if I could put my tent poles with the bag fully stuffed and the straps around it, because these are not a bike packing size, so they are full size. Now, these do fit in the Leadout frame bag that they did provide for me for possible future review as well. But I wanted this as a backup in case the bag that you use, especially on a smaller frame, don't fit that. And happy to report these do fit in there with just enough slack to put this in, as well as the dry bag fully loaded. And you could definitely, in a pinch, stuff a puffy jacket or something underneath the straps there as well. So now let's get into the Racelite overnight saddle bag. This is going to be a very similar concept. I have this fully loaded with all my little accessories here, but let's break it down and show you all the little features. This is going to be a very similar style bag where you're going to have the main cradle that can live on the bike, and then your dry bag you can remove. At the top here, you're going to see that it has a very minimal bungee cord on it. Typically, you're going to see a lot of them with more of an X pattern. This one is definitely on the smaller side, so be careful of what you put in here. Then you're going to see another reflective strap, which I do like to see for an extra safety feature, as well as it is still going to have all those great little details like this strap here, so you can wrap it around there so this is not flapping around and possibly hitting you in the back. As far as the cradle goes, this is going to be a standard mounting style saddle bag, which I'll be showing you in the later section of this video. You're going to have your main strap here that's going to go on your seat post, and these two on both sides are going to go around your seat rails. You do have a little accessory pouch right here, so you can put other items. I've been able to sneak my water shoes into here or some extra gels, something smaller, but obviously due to how this strap is sewn into the other side, you only get it on the drive side. Then as you release your dry bag, you're going to see the cradle here, again, super lightweight and has the same benefits as I'd mentioned before, where it's a lot easier to leave this on the bike and then pull this dry bag off and bring this into your tent, especially if it's inclement weather. This is obviously weather sealed, so you don't have to worry about your stuff getting wet. This dry bag is going to be obviously a lot larger being your saddle bag, and this is rated at 10.5 liters. It's going to have the same air valve so you can compress it and then lock it to keep everything nice and tight inside the bag. And you can see it is shaped to fit into that crevice of the cradle. And on the back here, you're going to see little loops here, which you can definitely throw a clip style light on, no problem. And inside here, typically in the rear saddle bag, you want it to be relatively lightweight. And that is because you don't want it to sway a lot, because obviously super heavy items are going to have the sensation of that. And even if the bag is super solid, having the weight up top is going to make the bike feel like it's going to want to tip over. So you definitely want to go lighter and more voluminous stuff. That's why typically I would put clothing in here. And that's why I have similar setup to what I usually run. I did this similar kind of setup when I ran from San Fran to LA in 6 days. I'll link that video in the description below. But I wanted a layered system that I typically would use for that trip. And it's usually what I use for my bike camping trips, because I want stuff that can be multi-purpose if the weather changes drastically on or off the bike at camp or on the ride there or back. So I have some basically warmer clothing, long t-shirt and long underwear style pants, a beanie, the puffy jacket, then a pair of merino wool socks, and my main tent body. So quite a bit of stuff in here. As you can see, it is pared down just based on the size of the bag. I wanted to see how I can make this work, again, for a credit card camping or an ultralight bike camping trip. This is all you really need. I don't run the ground sheet on this most of the time, and depending on the season and the weather, you don't really need to run a rain fly. So this is just the body of the tent, and you saw this, the tent poles, which can go in the handlebar bag. So technically, I could camp with this setup pretty much anywhere, as long as it's obviously not going to rain. The only thing I want to mention that is similar between these items as well as all the Racelite products that Leadout makes is that Dyneema material, which is that silver material you're going to see around all this style bag, as well as the other Racelite products that they make. Dyneema is a material that if you are into bike camping or hiking, you're going to see a lot of them, really high-end tents, typically, possibly backpacks. So it gives you a lot of strength for very little weight compared to other materials. And that's what's going to give it kind of that unique look if you were wondering. And it only is going to come in this colorway. There isn't other colors of Dyneema that they offer at the moment, unlike their regular set of bike packing bags. So that being said, let's get into mounting. Now, mounting a handlebar bag is pretty straightforward. I really like, again, this cradle system. Basically, all you're going to do is put these straps around the handlebar. And again, with that cam style buckle, it makes this super easy to do, especially quickly, because it automatically kind of locks on itself, and then you can kind of tension it as you go, which I really like. Then for the head tube, same thing. You can put the elastic around that, cinch that up, and then I like to wrap the elastic cord around itself. But I like that the two foam blocks for the handlebars give me enough space around the handlebar to still grab it without touching the bag. I do have relatively smaller hands, but it's something that you could easily adjust a little bit if you want a little bit more distance there. Keeping in mind, you want to keep cautious of the distance between the bottom of the bag and your tire. Strapping the loaded bag into the cradle is relatively easy. Trying to fish the straps through the security kind of loops in the front of the bag is a little finicky. And if you are going to run the tent poles like I did, I would definitely loosely run those straps through those loops, clip them both into place, fully loosened, then put your tent poles or whatever other items you want to strap into that system, then pull it tight, and then strap it around the straps so they don't flap around. And you can see it's super secure. There is a little bit of movement, obviously, with that bungee cord, but not a lot if we cinch it up nice and tight. So I wouldn't worry about this thing having any kind of issues. And again, if those front straps are fully secured, I wouldn't worry about my poles flying out either. Now let's get on to the saddlebag cradle. Similar to a lot of other systems, you're going to wrap the main strap around your seat post. Now, if you do have a dropper, you do need to keep in mind you may need to run a spacer. A lot of other companies make those to give it something to grab onto without it smashing that. But I'm demonstrating this on a rigid seat post. Then you're going to want to wrap the other two straps around the seat rails of your bike, and that's going to hold the cradle in place. Then you're going to slide the bag into the cradle, making sure to match the shape of the bottom of that into it, because if you do it the other way, it's going to want to stick out farther. I usually like to leave the vent open at this point to shove the bag in just to see if you can release a little bit more air and then close it. And then you're just going to take that strap and run it through the bag, making sure to go underneath your buckled roll top section, because if you run over it, technically that strap could slide to the left or the right. So you want to run it through there so that you have an extra layer of protection. And that's basically it. You're all cradled up. When you get to camp, you're just going to do the reverse so you can easily pop that bag out from the front and the rear and be ready to go. And the other side benefit to that is if you are needing to run around town or something like that, I would honestly just leave the cradles on because they're so lightweight. And as long as the straps are all clicked together, yeah, it's going to look kind of funny, but you could definitely still ride the bike and not have to take off that extra amount of things on there, and it's still very usable. So now let's get into price. I always talk in my videos about the current retail price of these bags. Obviously, they may or may not be on sale at the time that you're watching this, but the current retail price for these bags at the time of filming is $170 for the handlebar bag and $180 for the saddle bag. Now, keep in mind, this company is based in California and in San Diego, and you can really see that cyclists are actually developing these products. And so that's where the little details that I've mentioned in this video are really going to shine through for the price point. And the quality seems really, really great. And the customer service, when I've been reaching out about questions about these bags, have been super quick, even when I've done it anonymously through chat and things like that. But let's get into my final thoughts. First off, let's start with the handlebar bag. I do really like this system. Like I said, I do like the cradle style setup that it has on it. And there's no real faults I can see with it. And I like the option to possibly run a slightly wider handlebar bag, especially if I'm running this on more of a gravel bike with a wider handlebar and flare. This setup, they've designed it obviously around a more possibly all road or gravel setup. So it is a little bit on the smaller side as far as width, and that allows you to ride on the drops. But if you're looking for max capacity, the stock bag is a little limited, but again, you can get around that buying something aftermarket if you need some more storage capacity. Keeping in mind that the straps are obviously only so long, but there is a good amount of slack in there to where I could see it going up quite a bit in size before you'd run out of that. And as I mentioned, I really do like those cam buckles. I don't know why, but that was a big game changer for me. Now let's get on to the saddle bag. I really liked, again, the cradle style system, and I do like the accessory pocket on the side. I wish there was something alternative on the other side, maybe even a bungee or something, just because the top bungee is smaller and only basically a circle. I wish that was in an X pattern to be a little bit longer, or having something that maybe wrapped around the side all the way around so you have kind of more surface area. Not really sure which would be best, or possibly two separate bungees on there, just to give you some other options, or even a mounting loop to put a carabiner on there. I know the cup dangle is overrated now, but something just to use the dead space essentially. As far as the bag goes, same as the front bag, waterproof. I love the air valve. And this one, I don't know if you'd be able to really change the size of the bag that it comes with. So this one's a little bit more limited in my thoughts, but I haven't tested it out because I don't have something else that would fit there. If you did do something soft in the bottom, even that's not form fit like the bottom of the saddlebag, you could definitely shove it in there and make it conform itself and possibly use it with other bags, again, expanding the capability of this cradle system. And just a last thought, maybe, possibly, Leadout could sell these as just a cradle system and let you choose your own battles basically with what fits. And maybe they could test just a standard dry bag in different sizes, possibly not a waterproof option. Who knows? Maybe a Dyneema option that's super lightweight that's from them, and maybe option something that's a little bit larger, because with Dyneema being so thin and strong, you could have a larger bag. You could really roll down small if you needed it, or roll out larger if you wanted it. So, hey, Leadout, if you're listening to this and you make that, I get 10%. So just letting you know. As far as the bag in the back, as far as movement goes, because that's usually the first question most people ask, I didn't really notice it. I feel the weight of the bike, so it feels like the bag's swaying. But if you watch this video footage of that, it really doesn't move around. It's more of the bike moving left and right. There's always going to be a little bit of a shift no matter what, but it's always going to give you the sensation most of the time for most saddlebag systems that the bag swaying, when it's really just the bike movement and having that weight up top that really makes it feel worse than it is. But as you can see in the footage, it's actually designed pretty well and really secure compared to what it feels like. So keep that in mind. Not all saddlebags are created equal. I've had some that move around way more than others, but for a quality bag from a reliable brand that makes bags, I typically don't have that issue. It's just the sensation of it. So that being said, I hope you like this video. Please make sure to comment and let me know what system you use for your bike packing bags, or if you have other Leadout bags that you really like using. So make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, because it turns out half of everybody who watches my videos isn't subscribed, and it's free. So why not? So that being said, thanks for watching this episode of Locked In.
Let's get locked in.